I simulated the Premier League 23-24 season in Football Manager. Who got relegated, which teams got into Europe, and who lifted that trophy? Well, let's find out what Football Manager predicts. To run this little experiment, I simulated the Premier League season 10 times with an updated database with the current transfers and teams. I also didn't disable the first transfer window as I wanted to give teams the opportunity to make some transfers. So with all that being said, let's look at what Football Manager thinks about the 23-24 Premier League season, starting at the bottom of the table. Our worst performing team is maybe unsurprisingly Luton Town. Even though the new boys were allowed to bring in some reinforcements, they finished dead last in all 10 simulations. They also managed an average of only 15.3 points and in one simulation even set a record for the lowest point total ever. Not a lot to look forward to as a Luton fan. Let's switch over to our 19th team, which is fellow promoted side Sheffield United. Finishing on average in the 18.7 position in the table with an average point total of 23.6 predicts another doom scenario for a promoted side. But there is light at the end of the tunnel, as Sheffield United managed to survive the Premier League in one of the 10 simulations. So the one thing I would say to Sheffield United fans, so you're saying there's a chance. Rounding off the predicted relegated sides is unfortunately Burnley. The side managed by Company only managed an average league finish of 17.4, but their average point total was a lot more respectable, being 30.4, and they also managed to survive in 3 of the simulations. So with a bit of luck, they've got a real chance of staying up. Now for the team that's predicted to just scrape survival, it's Nottingham Forest. Their average league finish of 16 with an average point total of 37 sees them end up just above the relegation zone. But it's not all smooth sailing, as they got relegated in 3 of the simulations. So Forest fans will have to keep their cheeks clenched for this upcoming season. For our next predicted side, it's actually a bit of a surprise. It's Brighton. De Zerbi's band managed an average league finish of 14.2 with an average point total of only 41.8. I've got a bit more faith in their recruitment in real life, but maybe they'll be sweating in Brighton next season. Predicted to finish just above them is Bournemouth. The Cherries had an average league finish of 14.1 with an average point total of 40.2. So according to Football Manager, their new manager Iraola will keep them up for another Premier League season. We're well and truly clear of the relegation zone now, with Crystal Palace in 14th. A comfortable season predicted for them, with an average league finish of 13.8 and an average point total of 42.9. So according to Football Manager, they won't fully collapse without their star man Wilfried Zaha. Up next is Wolverhampton Wanderers. Another team that lost their star player in the form of Ruben Neves. They had an average league finish of 13 with an average point total of 44.1. But be warned Wolves fans, as she surprisingly got relegated in one of the simulations. No reason to panic, but be on your guard. We're getting into the proper mid-table now, with Fulham in 12th. They managed an average league finish of 13 as well, but had a slightly higher average point total compared to Wolves, with 44.8. Fulham also didn't get relegated, but who knows what will happen if they lose their star striker. Coming up into 11th, we've got our busy bees, Brentford. An uneventful prediction for them, as they had an average league finish of 11.8 and an average point total of 47.3. And no European football or relegations. Can't all be showstoppers. Next up is last season Conference League winners, West Ham United. They'll be disappointed that with an average league finish of 11.3 and an average point total of 46.8, they didn't get European football in any of the simulations. It's almost as if they'll miss a pivotal part in their midfield. Who knows? The first team around the top half, and a bit of a surprise, is Everton in 9th. They managed an average league finish of 9.4 with an average point total of 53.5, while they almost got relegated in real life the previous season. The Football Manager actually predicted them to get into the Conference League twice and even into the Europa League once. Sean Dyche has got some magic in him. Getting into the top half of the table now, with 8th place Aston Villa. A rejuvenated side in real life, Villa ended up with an average league finish of 7.5 and an average point total of 61.9. And while they predicted to finish 8th, they actually managed to book 4 Europa League tickets across the simulations and 1 Conference League. A great showing for Emery's men, but falling just short of the European places in the overall prediction. As the 7th place and the Conference League ticket goes to Newcastle United. The new big spenders in the league managed an average league finish of a 6.6 with an average point total of 63.3. But the Geordies don't have to put away their Champions League scars yet, as they got a Champions League ticket in 2 of the simulations, as well as 2 Europa League finishes. Finishing bottom of the top 6 teams is Tottenham Hotspur. Not the season that Spurs fans would want, as they got an average league finish of a 6.3 with an average point total of 67.5. They also managed to get into the Champions League only once, with 5 Europa League finishes and 3 Conference League places. Kane, there's still time to get out. Let's move over to the team that's predicted to just finish outside of the Champions League places, Manchester United. The Red Devils will be disappointed as well, with an average league finish of 5.7 and an average point total of 68.5. And according to Football Manager, it's really up in the air what kind of European football they will get, as they finished thrice in the Champions League, Europa League and Conference League places. Now from two disappointed sides to one of the most improved teams compared to real life. In fourth is Chelsea. Signing a completely new team is predicted to work by Football Manager, as they got an average league finish of 4.2 with an average point total of 72.9. They also got an impressive 6 Champions League finishes, combined with 4 Europa League spots. But no title winners yet. Let's see how our top 3 does. I don't know how their fans will feel about this, but next up is Arsenal. A slight decrease compared to real life. They managed an average league finish of 3.7 with an average point total of 76.7. They did manage very consistent Champions League finishes, getting into the top 4 in 8 of the simulations, only getting to the Europa League and the Conference League once respectively. But you might have already noticed, no titles for Arsenal as well. But the league was dominated by 2 of the best teams around, but one of them fell just short. In second, it's Liverpool. Making the big signings seems to have helped, as they managed an average league finish of 1.9, an average point total of 84.5, getting 7 Champions League finishes and getting 3 titles. But only one team can be the best, as Manchester City is predicted to have another dominant season, with an average league finish of a 1.3, an average point total of 87.5, 3 Champions League finishes, but 7 titles. So we now know our predicted table, but we're not nearly done with our juicy predictions. Let's first off have a look at the 5 biggest transfers that were made during the simulations. Starting with number 5, Man City fans can rest easy if Mahrez ends up going, because they could just spend 66 million on his replacement, in the name of the Brazilian winger Pepe. But he's certainly not the only option to replace Mahrez, as the number 4 spot goes to the 71 million transfer of Gonçalves from Sporting to City. But City weren't the only big spenders, as our number 3 spot goes to another 71 million transfer, Jonathan David to Liverpool. For that kind of money on a striker, you would really expect to bring in your new top scorer. And we'll look at the top scorers across the simulations later on. For now, let's move over to number 2. And it was just a matter of time before Newcastle joined this list, as our second biggest transfer is the 72 million acquisition of Salih Özcan? Not the player I was expecting for the second biggest transfer, but the number 1 is even more crazy. The largest amount of money spent across these simulations was done by Manchester City, as they spent 77 million on the Spurs reject Steven Bergwijn. Don't blame me, it's Football Manager's predictions. And maybe it brought something different to the City attack that brought them even more goals. So let's look at the top scorers. I've got another top 5 for you, this time for the amount of golden boots a player has won. In number 5, it's the old reliable Harry Kane, getting 1 golden boot across the simulations and an average goal tally of 18.2. So if he does end up staying at Spurs, we know what we can expect. Now going from someone that might leave to someone that's just joined, Arsenal fans will be happy to see that Kai Havertz actually got 1 golden boot with an average goal tally of 19 goals. He's predicted to be a valuable player for Arsenal, but can he be as valuable as this next player? As the number 3 spot goes to a Premier League legend, Mohamed Salah, getting 2 golden boots with an average goal tally of 15.8. One of the best players regarding average rating in real life. We'll also have a look at the best average ratings in these simulations later on, but for now let's move up to number 2. And it's turned into a Merseyside derby, as Calvert-Lewin managed 2 top scorer titles with an average goal tally of 19.5. But even an injury-free Calvert-Lewin can't match up against the number 1 on this list, and you guessed it, Erling Haaland. The Norwegian robot managed 4 Golden Boot wins with an average goal tally of 19.6. We know that he can score, but how valuable was he for City? Let's look at the best average ratings across the simulations. It's another ranking of how many times a player ended up on top of the average rating list, but this time it's only a top 3. Number 3 is Luis Diaz from Liverpool, but he's really just an honorable mention as he never actually got the best average rating. He was the best of the rest though, with an average rating across the simulations of a 7.4. But just 2 players absolutely dominated these simulations, and in number 2 is Bernardo Silva. This Portuguese all-rounder was the best overall player in 3 of the simulations, getting an average rating of a 7.5. But only one man can wear the crown, and it's the Egyptian king Mohamed Salah. The ever-dangerous winger was the best overall player in 7 of the simulations, with an average rating of a 7.6. But I really want to hear what you think, so put your predictions for the upcoming Premier League season in the comments down below. And you can check out some of my other Football Manager videos while we're waiting for the new season to begin. I'll see you on the next video.